Okay, Impact Wrestling Sacrafice. Again, this show had the same amount of matches as the last one did, but I think it flowed a lot better early on, at least through this, because there were a lot of really quick ones and didn't take up a lot of time. So let's get right to it. Our first match was, we had two Kickoff Show matches. The first of those was Giselle Shaw versus Lady Frost. Shaw is definitely doing her gimmick is the quintessential diva, so I think that pretty much sums everything up there. And Lady Frost, kind of a, I want to say, superhero type gimmick, a little bit, you know, superhero slash Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat type thing. Early on, Shaw hit a Snapmare takeover and then mucked around with Frost's hair. Frost came back and tossed Shaw into the ring step, dodged a charging Shaw who hit the ring steps. Shaw countered a head scissors with a kick. Shaw hit corkscrew Vader bomb, got a 2 count. Shaw then hit blocked a moonsault and hit a hangman DDT, and then Frost hit, and I use that term very loosely, she whiffed pretty bad on it, a big roundhouse kick, and then hit basically a corkscrew moonsault for the 3 count of the victory. Yeah, so ending the match unfortunately kind of killed whatever momentum that they had, and it was a pretty, like I said, it was a pretty quick match. Got a lot of high impact moves in at least, so it was very convincing for the short amount of time it was on, but you know, again, the ending kind of killed it there. So let's move on to our second match, which was also on the Kickoff Show. The Honor No More tag team of Mike Bennett and Matt Taven took on Rich Swann and Willie Mack. Swann hit an arm drag on Bennett and then followed that up with a drop kick. Taven tagged in the ring, took a big shoulder block from Mack. Mack tried to hit Taven with a head scissors. Again, there was a lot of botches in the early part of this show, unfortunately. That and camera botches too, because we would be cutting in the middle of moves, and so sometimes you would just completely miss what had happened, and that sort of happened a lot with this match. Bennett came back, hit Mack with he tripped Mack, allowing Taven to hit a DDT through the ropes. Swann then used Taven as a springboard to launch an attack onto Bennett. Eventually, Mack broke up the finisher for Honor No More is called the Proton Pack, and it's a drop kick into a backpack stunner. And from there, but Mack broke that up, and that allowed Swann to get a roll up on Bennett for the 3 count of the victory. Yeah, this was, like I said, a lot of botches, unfortunately, and not a very well plotted out tag team match. It was a little slow and plotting. I mean, you only had 10 minutes, and they went right up to that last last few seconds. I think, you know, that happened, and we transitioned over into the show proper. So we go on to that match, which the opening match for the show proper, which was the X Division Championship match between Trey Miguel and Jake Something. This was a great contrast of styles, because you have the very agile, flying attacks of Trey Miguel, and then Jake Something, who's a big powerhouse, but can also pull off agile attacks as well. Miguel, early on, tried to do some strikes. He tried to hit a spinning back elbow, and it accidentally caught Jake Something in the nose. He really crocked off. Oh, I was surprised Something wasn't bleeding. That was how hard it was, because you could see Miguel turn around and say, sorry, when that happened. Miguel got tangled up Something's arm in the ropes, but Something came back, he had a sit-down powerbomb. Something then blocked a handspring elbow with a crossbody. Miguel attempted to run, but Something kind of stomped on his foot. Miguel came back, he caught a suplex. Something came back, he had a bunch of power moves, a big one-arm buckle bomb, and then he had a sit-down power bomb again. Every time Miguel just kept kicking out. Miguel hit, a sunset bomb on the outside of the ring, but he couldn't quite get him. He had to struggle to get something back into the ring so he could try to pin him. Something came back once more, tried to go for a top rope maneuver, but Miguel fought out of that, hit the Tiger Fan kick through the ropes around the turnbuckle, and then followed that up with a Meteora stomp for the 3 count of the victory. Really good match to kick things off, really fast paced. Again, the good contrast of styles. As crazy as it sounds, I'd like to see something get more of another title shot, but right now, because I think they're setting up something with Ace Austin and Mike Bailey, I'm not entirely sure. So, again, I want to see more from this. I'd like to see more from it, but I'm not entirely sure. Okay, our next match is the Turncoat Eddie Edwards taking on Rhino. Edwards brought everyone from Honor No More except PCO, because he had a match later, to the ring. So Rhino brought backup in the form of Chris Sabin, Willie Mack, and Rich Swann. He did not bring anyone else with him, just to even things up. Early on, Edwards was trying to goad Rhino into losing his cool and wander over into the Honor No More area. It didn't quite work until just one point where I believe was Bennett reached out and tripped up Rhino. And in the schmaz, it started to break out a little bit. Maria Kanellis pulled out a kendo stick and tried to get it to Edwards, but the ref saw it and kicked Kanellis out. Did not kick the rest of Honor No More out for some reason, but again, that's where the outside of the ring shenanigans began to happen again. Rhino did get some licks in. He tossed Edwards through the ropes onto his side where his team was laying in wait to goad Edwards back. And Taven, like I said, Taven tripped Rhino. And then a big fight broke on the outside. Mack and Swann both hit suicide moves to the outside, laid everyone out. At this point, Steve Macklin runs down to the ring, grabs the kendo stick which was still sitting on the ringside for some reason, before Edwards can use it, and convinced Rhino to go for a gore, and then swung it and hit Rhino in the head instead. Again, why does Rhino exist only to be betrayed? Anyway, after that, Edwards hit the Boston knee party for the 3 count and the victory. This was a cluster of a match. It didn't really go anywhere. For the record, Macklin is not part of Honor No More. It's because they all doubted him during... during No Surrender. Because they didn't trust him. He's now on his own again, and he doesn't, it's like he doesn't care if you work for Impact or Honor No More. And obviously recent events have made things a little strange, but I'll get to that when we get to there. After that, we had the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, the Inspiration versus the Influence. The Inspiration, Cassie Lee and Jesse McKay, the former Peyton Royce and Billy Kay of WWE, or the Iconics as you would know them. Anyway, Dashwood and Madison Rayne, who are the Influence, Tennille Dashwood and Madison Rayne, I think I mentioned that in the last one. They told their manager Caleb, with a K, to stay behind, because they know that the Inspiration have been openly soliciting him to join their side instead, so they don't trust him. So you stay back here, we're going to go win the match, and then we'll see how that turns out. Right off the bat, McKay hit an arm drag on, then suplexed Dashwood. Lee and McKay double-teamed Rayne for a while. Dashwood dodged a running kick and dropped a knee on the apron. Dashwood and Rayne basically double-teamed McKay for a major portion of the match. Eventually, Lee got the hot tag, got in there. McKay hit Dashwood to get the hot tag to Lee. Rayne began distracting the ref, and as this big kind of schmaz began to happen, and it looked like things were going their way, Caleb came down to the ring, grabbed one of the championship belts, and while the ref was distracted, slid it into the ring where Tennille Dashwood grabbed it, clocked Cassie Lee, and then covered her for the 3 count and the victory. So the inspiration on the new Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Now, this isn't quite, it doesn't seem that this was Caleb supporting his team, as you know, he looked a little confused when it happened. And if you saw the replay, he was clearly sliding the championship toward Cassie Lee, but it went in between her legs and went straight to Dashwood. So that's what happened there. And this was a really interesting match in that it told a pretty good story. Like, I don't think I did a good job of describing it, but it was a lot of high-impact maneuvers from both teams. Some good distraction on both efforts from the heel team. So, again, there were some really good high points in this. I think, I believe at one point, someone moved to the outside of the ring. I just cannot remember it. And so, yeah, very unique point. Afterwards, like I said, Caleb looked kind of confused, but he still kind of celebrated with his team a little bit, trying to take pictures as both them yelled the influence, because they're influencers, get it? Yelled at him to make sure he took the right selfies. And then we went backstage where Heath was consoling Rhino over what happened. He said, "Oh man, I should have been out there to support you." And Rhino's like, "No, you got a world championship opportunity." But he's sort of doubting himself, even though he's the one who challenged Moose to the match. And it's then that we get a sudden appearance from Anthony Corelli, the former Santino Marella, as you would know him from WWE, who says some words of encouragement to Keith. Kind of a weird little bit there, as it didn't really do much. And that leads us into our next match, which is PCO of Honor No More versus Jonah. Right off the bat, Jonah drives PCO into the stairs on the outside, into the back corner, and bit his hand. PCO basically no-sold it, hit a neck breaker, and followed that with a big drop kick. Jonah hit a side Russian leg sweep onto the entrance ramp. They brawled on the outside. PCO hit a suicide plancha. PCO hit the de-animator after that. Jonah hit a big superplex. PCO came back with a top rope Frankensteiner. He then went for a moonsault. Was it a moonsault? Yeah. Jonah just kicked out of it. They brawled on the outside of the ring again. PCO charged Jonah and tripped him up and hit the ring steps. Jonah picked him up, hit a tombstone pile driver on the ring steps, followed it up with a powerbomb off of the ring steps, and followed that up with a top rope splash in the ring for the 3 count and the victory. Boy, this was a real hoss fight here. This was a big, mean, impactful hoss fight, and it was brilliant. Both these guys were really top-notch at the top of their game here. They did everything right. They sold everything like it was the end of tomorrow, and each move looked like it could have ended the match, and it just didn't. You were like, how are these guys still going? And it was so enjoyable. It was probably the best match of the night. And that was kind of surprising. Not in the way that I didn't think it was possible, but you look at the other matches that were on here, and it's an easy contender for match of the night. Okay, our next match is possibly the other big contender for match of the night: Jay White versus Alex Shelley. Alex Shelley basically took Jay White under his wing early on in his career, and now the leader of Bullet Club is seeking to take out his former mentor. Shelley hit a drop toe hold into a wrist lock, and then taunted White by giving a kiss on the back of his head. Shelley then hit a flying knee to White's shoulder. White came back, hit a couple of pump handle backbreakers. Shelley then came back, hit a flying lariat. Shelley hit a big strike. White came back, hit a big hanging suplex, a twisting suplex. He kept trying to go for the Blade Runner. Shelley came out of it, tried to put him in his crossface submission hold. A couple of points, Shelley tried to put on the Blade Runner, fought out of it. White eventually came back, Shelley countered a Blade Runner into the crossface. Shelley countered another mover into a DDT. They got on the outside of the ring. White hit 2 Blade Runners into the ring apron, and then got in the ring, went for the third, but Shelley fought away, hit a Blade Runner of his own, locked on the submission, the crossface submission, but White fought out of that and hit the Blade Runner, got the 3 count and the victory. Like I said, this was a much better match than I'm making it sound like, unfortunately. I had to cut that down because of time, but still, very intense match, very even-handed throughout all. There were a few maneuvers where it's like, oh my god, is Shelley going to actually pull off the upset here? And then, White would just barely fight out of it and fight back. Afterwards, the crowd gave a standing ovation, even the announcers gave a standing ovation, and White, because he's the heel, refused to shake Shelley's hand and laughed at him as he went up the ramp afterwards. Like I said, very much the contender for match of the night. And that leads us into our next match, which is the Deonna Purrazzo Champ Challenge match, which turned out to be Chelsea Green challenging once again for the Ring of Honor Championship. I don't know if anyone's actually challenged her for the AAA one yet, but still. Green had a big arm drag and followed that with a torpe suicida to the outside of the rope. To the outside of the ring, I mean. Perazzo came back, had a big running knee and a suplex, or arm drag suplex. Both women hit pump kicks on each other. Green then really fought back and began to take control of this match. At one point, she dinged her surgically repaired wrist, and Perazzo was able to counter that into an armbar, or Fujiwara armbar hold. But Green came back, hit a flatliner, sending Perazzo into the turnbuckle. She then hit kind of an elevated flatliner. Then something happened where, again, through a series of near falls and pinfall attempts, Green tried to do I think like maybe an ankle lock or something to Perazzo's leg. She kicked out and hit the arm of Chelsea Green, and Green began selling it as possibly being broken. You could hear a crack type sound with it, and she was falling back, and you could clearly see she's selling an injury of some type. Even Perazzo goes over to check on her. Green lashes out and slugs Perazzo square in the chest. Well, maybe not the chest, maybe it was one of the stomach. And Perazzo basically snapped, grabbed the arm, put it in the Fujiwara armbar, and the ref immediately called for the match after that. Chelsea Green was still seriously injured, getting attended to by the doctors. Mickie James is coming out to check on her, and that's when Tasha Steelz comes out to begin the next match, which is the Knockouts Championship match of Mickie James versus Tasha Steelz. James is clearly still not really interested in starting this match right now, but Steelz isn't going for it. Attacks James shortly after the ring bell. James comes back, does hit a couple of nice kicks, but then she's constantly turning her focus to Green until Green finally goes up the ramp, and that allows Evans, I forget what her first name is, Steelz' valet, to interfere, which further distracts James. Steelz gets a couple of big running kicks. Unfortunately, it's just taking too long. She's not getting any type of near falls or anything of that nature, and it starts to cost her as James rallies back, hits some kicks of her own. James hits comes back, it's a Thez press and a neck breaker. She hits a flying kick, move off the top rope. Evans countered a move into a DDT. James hit a DDT on Steelz, and that's when Evans interfered again, getting in the ring. Not making contact so as to cause disqualification, but causing just enough of a distraction for Steelz to do her crucifix bomb pin, but that didn't quite work. At another point, as this is happening, Mickie hit the Mick kick and another DDT on Steelz. Looks like she is out. Starts going for a top rope maneuver, but then Evans revives, trips Mickie up on the top rope, but distracts her just long enough for Steelz to recover. So when Mickie attempts her top rope maneuver, Steelz hits a cutter and gets the 3 count for the victory. So, yes, your new Impact Knockouts champion is Tasha Steelz. This was an all-right match. I think the idea of Mickie James being distracted by the injury of Green made sense. Obviously, they're planning for Green to come back and probably betray Mickie at some point. So I don't know how long this championship reign is going to last. But I would like to see it last for a while, though, as Steelz is a very interesting character, and I would like to see her as a champion. Okay, our next match is the Impact Tag Team Championship match, the Good Brothers versus Violent by Design members Eric Young and Joe Doring. Early on, Young caught caught Anderson in an arm drag, which Anderson then returned the favor. Doring got tagged in. He hit Gallows with a big boot. Doring and Gallows then kind of hit each other in a cross-body maneuver. Anderson hit Young with a forearm or a fisherman buster. Violent by Design hit a powerbomb top rope elbow drop onto Anderson. Let's see, Gallows hit the choke bomb on Young. Eventually, Doring broke the pin up and managed to get Young over to the corner to perform the tag, so he got in. He began a House of Fire. As this happened, Young and Gallows fought up the entrance ramp, and because that's not part of the ringside area, that was enough of an area that allowed enough for Young to low blow Gallows and hit a power bomb at the top of the ramp, taking him out of the picture. And then he and Doring Young got back to the ring. He and Doring double teamed Anderson. They hit a power bomb neck breaker combo for the 3 count and the victory. So now Violent by Design are the new Impact Tag Team Champions. And obviously a whole lot of recent events are kind of playing out here. You've got Bullet Club and Jay White showing up on AEW. AEW also recently purchased Ring of Honor, so don't know what that means for certain people. Like, technically the entire Ring of Honor roster was let go of their contracts, I believe, except for the champions. So I can't remember who the tag team champions were. And Perazzo, obviously the women's champion, and Gresham, the Ring of Honor champion. The other ones, like the Pure and the Six Man, they were on hiatus, as it were, and don't know exactly what that means. If that means they're now exclusive or not, or if they're going to be more. Like right now, AEW say they're going to run ROH as a separate entity, but we'll see how long that lasts, because that doesn't really last long. So. And I believe the Good Brother and OJ White has shown up on AEW as well, so maybe a lot of that stuff, there's a reason why we're transitioning a lot of that stuff over to there now instead of to here. But instead of on Impact, so we'll see where that's going. The match itself, it was alright. It's a pretty standard tag match. It is nice to see Violent by Design win. Eric Young, always good to see him having a championship of some kind. And, when Doring got the hot tag, it really did pick up a lot of high-impact maneuvers with that. So, it was at least an entertaining match. Maybe not the greatest, but still solid. And that leads us into our last match, the Impact World Championship match, Moose versus Heath, the former Heath Slater, if you haven't realized there. Anthony Corelli, a.k.a. Santino Marella, joined everyone on commentary and didn't really do anything, which makes you wonder why he was down there on commentary. Early on, Heath caught Moose with a big knee. He had a big leg lariat. Moose came back, though, and tossed the Heath into the ring post. He had a couple of Ranagis into the ring apron. Heath came back, when Moose had him in an octopus hold. He bit Moose's hand to break free. Heath tried to come back with some good body blows, drawing on his boxing background. But, Moose came back, hit, another big maneuver, but then Heath fought back. He toppled Moose out of the ring. He had a crossbody to the outside of the ring. He came in, he hit the wake-up call, but only got a 2 count. And then Heath took a little too long trying to go for another maneuver. Moose hit, I can't remember, some maneuver, and then followed that up with a spear for the 3 count of the victory. Not a terrible match, but not spectacular, really, and, painfully predictable. I don't think anyone was... Probably, the one problem when you have 2 big pay-per-view specials, a couple weeks apart from each other, it's really hard to build storylines. So, yeah, the next one is on April 23rd, so you at least have that going for you. You have at least time to do things and build. But, yeah, I don't think people were expecting Heath to really walk away with champion, unfortunately. Yeah, so the match itself was not terrible, like I said, but kind of there, unfortunately. But then the big development happened afterwards as Moose celebrated in the ring. Josh Alexander rushed in from the crowd, hit Moose with a big tiger driver, and then grabbed the mic and he said, yeah, you know what? Last time you saw me, Scott Demore sent me home, told me to think things through and sort things out. And you know what? I did. Because I am from Toronto, Canada, which means I'm only a few blocks away from the corporate offices of Impact Wrestling, Anthem Sports. And I just happened to sort out my contract. I've got a new multi-year deal, and I've got another contract that says I get a World Championship shot at Rebellion. So that's how the show ended. So yeah, we do get a nice little bit of building towards the next big feud. So yeah, Moose, Josh Alexander. Like I said, don't know how much else is going to pan out. If Chelsea Green is legit injured, I'm not entirely sure. Again, technically I believe she was part of ROH when they dissolved, so maybe she's part of that deal too. Where I don't know where exactly she's standing. Obviously, she's going to be with her husband Matt Cardona when he defends his NWA Championship at the Crockett Cup. But again, Matt Cardona, where does he stand in all of this? Where do some of these other guys? Is there going to be float over? The Forbidden Door has been opened. Is that where this is going? There's some very intriguing setups going on. The show was very enjoyable. Like, there were a couple of clunker matches, but nothing too horrendously bad or aggravating, at least. So it was overall very enjoyable. Like I said, a few clunkers, but like I said, it was solid, well paced. Finished before 10 o'clock here, so always a good thing. I'm going to give Impact Sacrafice 2022 an A. I think it was really enjoyable. Like I said, nothing really upsetting or a couple of botched moves, but yeah, other than that, nothing too really upsetting or aggravating. Like I said, nothing aggravating. Not like what WWE has been doing with their pay-per-views this year. So that there were some technical difficulties as well. But other than that, like I said, mostly it was just a really enjoyable, really solid show. I think you really should be checking out Impact Wrestling if you haven't. It's definitely quality stuff. So okay. Now, moving on to, I guess the next video is going to be the recap and review for Pixar's Turning Red. And then it's the random trade review on Age of Bronze, Volume 1, 1,000 Ships. The next wrestling show is going to be the Crockett Cup, which is it's a 2-night event, but it's going to be all one video, so it'll probably be up Monday morning-ish. It's probably Monday. So it's Saturday and Sunday night, just for clarification, everyone understands. We'll get more into that when that show comes around. After that, the next show is going to be the WrestleMania weekend festivities, so NXT Stand and Deliver, and then the 2 nights of WrestleMania, and of course there'll be a prediction video for that. And then the next Impact show is Rebellion. I don't know if there's another WrestleMania show in April or another WWE show in April or not, but yeah. So we at least got that going for us. Yeah, I know AEW's Revolution is tomorrow. Obviously, I'm not doing that. I would like to do AEW shows, but they're really expensive. They're $50. Added to that, the $44 for the Crockett Cup. So, if I do an AEW show, it's probably going to be more towards the summer around, I guess it's Double or Nothing. Is that it? Probably their July show if I get the chance. Okay, so see you all next time. Hey guys, remember to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help me expand my wrestling coverage to stuff beyond WWE, NXT, and the occasional AEW free show.